Good evening, beautiful souls. I am deeply honored to stand before you today to share insights, stories, and practical wisdom on a topic that resonates with every heart in this room: how to release the past and embrace the present. This is not just a concept, it's a transformative journey, a path to freedom, peace, and a life filled with purpose and joy. My name is Dyer, and for decades I've been exploring the art of living fully in the moment, letting go of the burdens of yesterday and stepping boldly into the now. Today, I invite you to join me on this journey, not as a distant observer, but as an active participant in your own liberation. We all carry pieces of our past. Some are cherished memories, others are heavy burdens. Regrets, mistakes, traumas, or even successes can anchor us to a time that no longer exists, preventing us from fully experiencing the beauty of the present moment. But here's the truth: the past is gone, and the present is all we truly have. The question is, how do we let go of what was and embrace what is? How do we live with intention, gratitude, and love right now? That's what we're here to explore together. This speech will weave together real life stories, spiritual principles, psychological insights, and practical tools to help you release the past and step into the present with an open heart. I'll share examples from my own life, from the lives of others I've met on this path, and from universal truths that transcend time and culture. By the end, my hope is that you'll walk away with a renewed sense of possibility, a lighter spirit, and a clear roadmap for living fully in the now. The weight of the past. Why we hold on. Let's begin by acknowledging a simple truth. The past is a powerful force. It shapes who we are, how we think, and how we feel. But too often, we allow it to define us in ways that limit our potential. Why do we hold on to the past? There are several reasons, and understanding them is the first step toward freedom. The comfort of familiarity. The past, even when painful, is familiar. It's a story we know by heart, and there's a strange comfort in clinging to it. I remember a woman I met at one of my workshops in Maui years ago. Let's call her Susan. Susan was in her late 40s, a successful lawyer, but she carried a deep wound from her childhood. Her father had been emotionally distant, often critical, and she grew up feeling unworthy of love. Decades later, she was still replaying those moments in her mind, defining herself by her father's words. "I'm not enough," she'd tell herself, even as she built a thriving career and a loving family. When I asked Susan why she held on to this pain, she paused and said, "It's all I've ever known. If I let it go, who would I be?" That's the crux of it. The past can feel like an identity, a script we've memorized. Releasing it means stepping into the unknown, and that can be terrifying. But here's what I told Susan, and what I'll tell you. The unknown is where transformation happens. The present is where you get to rewrite your story. The illusion of control. Another reason we cling to the past is the illusion of control. We replay old mistakes, thinking if we analyze them enough, we can prevent future pain. I once worked with a man named Tom, a Vietnam War veteran. Tom carried immense guilt over a decision he made during the war, a split second choice that led to the loss of a comrade. For years, he tortured himself with what-ifs. What if he'd acted differently? What if he'd been faster, smarter, braver? Tom believed that by holding on to this guilt, he was honoring his friend's memory. But in truth, it was keeping him stuck, unable to fully engage with his family or find peace. I shared with Tom a principle from A Course in Miracles. You can't change the past, but you can change how you see it. By reframing his past, not denying it, but choosing to see it through the lens of forgiveness and learning, Tom began to release the guilt. He started volunteering at a veterans support group, using his experience to help others heal. The past didn't disappear, but it no longer controlled him. The stories we tell ourselves. Finally, we hold on to the past because of the stories we tell ourselves. These stories become our truth even when they're rooted in distortion. I'll share a personal example. Early in my career, I was a professor, driven by ambition and a need for approval. I grew up in foster homes, often feeling abandoned, and I carried a story that I had to prove my worth through achievements. Every book I wrote, every lecture I gave, was tinged with this need to be enough. But one day, during a meditation, I had an epiphany. My worth wasn't tied to my accomplishments or anyone else's approval. It was inherent. I was enough, just as I was. That realization didn't erase my past, but it changed the story I told myself about it. Instead of seeing my childhood as a series of rejections, I began to see it as a training ground for resilience and empathy. The past didn't change, but my relationship to it did. And that's the key. You don't need to erase the past. You need to reframe it. The power of the present. Why now matters if the past is a weight. The present is a gift. The word present is no accident. It's both a moment in time and a blessing. When we live in the present, we tap into a wellspring of peace, creativity, and connection. But what does it mean to embrace the present? Let's explore this through three core principles: awareness, acceptance, and action. Awareness, waking up to the now. The first step to embracing the present is awareness, being fully awake to this moment. Too often, we're physically present but mentally elsewhere, caught in memories or worries. I recall a story about a young man named Michael, who attended one of my seminars in the 1980s. Michael was a musician, but he was consumed by regret over a failed record deal. During a guided meditation, I asked the group to focus on their breath, to notice the air moving through their lungs, the sounds around them, the feeling of their feet on the ground. Michael later shared that this was the first time in years he'd felt truly alive. I realized I'd been living in my head, not my life. He said, "Awareness is simple but profound. Try it now. Close your eyes for a moment and notice your breath. Feel the rise and fall of your chest. Listen to the sounds around you, the hum of the room, the rustle of clothing. This is the present. It's not a concept, it's a felt experience. The more you practice awareness, the more you anchor yourself in the now." Acceptance, making peace with what is the second principle, is acceptance. This doesn't mean passively accepting injustice or suffering. It means acknowledging reality as it is, without resistance. I met a woman named Maria at a retreat in Sedona. Maria had lost her husband to cancer 2 years prior, and she was stuck in grief, unable to move forward. She felt guilty for wanting to enjoy life again, as if it betrayed her husband's memory. I shared with Maria a teaching from the Tao Te Ching. When you realize there is nothing lacking, the whole world belongs to you. Acceptance isn't about forgetting the past. It's about making peace with it. Maria began a daily practice of gratitude, writing down 3 things each day that brought her joy. Sunset, a kind word from a friend, the taste of her morning coffee. Slowly, she began to see that joy in the present didn't diminish her love for her husband, it honored it. By accepting her grief and her right to happiness, she opened the door to the present. Action, living with intention. The third principle is action, choosing to live with intention in this moment. The present is not passive, it's a canvas for creation. I think of a man named David, who I met during a speaking tour in Australia. David was in his 60s, recently retired, and felt lost without the structure of his career. He'd always dreamed of painting, but told himself it was too late. During our conversation, I asked him, "What's stopping you from picking up a brush right now?" He laughed, but the question lingered. A year later, David sent me a letter with a photo of his first painting, a vibrant landscape inspired by the Australian outback. He wrote, "I realized the only thing holding me back was me. I started painting not for perfection, but for joy." David's story reminds us that the present is where we act, create, and become. Every choice you make now, whether to smile at a stranger, start a new hobby, or forgive someone, shapes your future. Practical tools for releasing the past. Now that we've explored why we hold on to the past and why the present matters, let's dive into practical tools to help you release what no longer serves you and embrace the now. These are practices I've used in my own life and shared with thousands of others. They're simple, but they require commitment. 1. Forgiveness. The key to freedom. Forgiveness is the most powerful tool for releasing the past. It's not about condoning harm, it's about freeing yourself from the chains of resentment. I'll share a story from my own life. For years, I carried anger toward my father, who abandoned our family when I was a child. I blamed him for my struggles, my insecurities, my need to prove myself. But in my 40s, after years of spiritual study, I decided to forgive him, not for his sake, but for mine. I wrote a letter to my father, who had passed away years earlier. I poured out my pain, my anger, and then I wrote, "I forgive you, I release you, I choose peace." I burned the letter in a symbolic act of letting go. That moment was a turning point. The anger that had weighed me down for decades dissolved, and I felt lighter, freer, more present. Forgiveness doesn't change the past, it changes you. Try this. Think of someone you're holding a grudge against. Maybe it's yourself. Write a letter, speak it aloud, or simply say in your heart, "I forgive you, I release you." Feel the weight lift. Do it daily if you need to. Forgiveness is a practice, not a one-time event. 2. Meditation. Anchoring in the now. Meditation is a bridge to the present. It quiets the mind's chatter and helps you connect with the eternal now. I've been meditating for decades, and it's transformed my life. One simple practice is the I am meditation. Sit quietly, close your eyes, and repeat the phrase I am with each breath. Don't add anything to it. No, I am successful or I am happy. Just I am. This connects you to your essence beyond the stories of the past. I recall a student named Lisa who struggled with anxiety rooted in a traumatic childhood. Through daily meditation, she began to notice moments of peace. For the first time, she said, I felt like I didn't have to fight my thoughts. I could just be. Start with 5 minutes a day. Sit, breathe, and be. The present will meet you there. 3. Gratitude. Shifting your focus. Gratitude is a magnet for presence. When you focus on what you're grateful for, you can't help but be in the moment. I met a man named John who had lost his job during the 2008 financial crisis. He was consumed by fear and regret, replaying what he could have done differently. I suggested a gratitude journal. Write down 5 things each day that you're thankful for, no matter how small. John started with simple things: the warmth of his coffee, the laughter of his daughter, a kind neighbor. Over time, his perspective shifted. He began to see opportunities in the present, like starting a small business. Gratitude didn't erase his challenges, but it gave him the strength to face them. Try it tonight. Write down 5 things you're grateful for. Feel how it grounds you in the now. 4. Reframing, rewriting your story. As I mentioned earlier, the stories we tell ourselves shape our reality. Reframing is the art of telling a new story about your past. I worked with a woman named Sarah who felt defined by a failed marriage. She saw herself as a divorcee, unworthy of love. I asked her to reframe her story. Instead of failure, what if her marriage was a chapter of growth, teaching her about her own strength and desires? Sarah began to see her divorce as a stepping stone to self-discovery. She started dating again, not from a place of need, but from a place of confidence. Reframing doesn't deny the past, it gives it new meaning. Ask yourself, what story am I telling about my past? How can I tell it differently? 5. Action. Small steps in the now. Finally, take action. The present is where you create. I think of a young woman named Emily who dreamed of writing a novel but was paralyzed by self-doubt from years of being told she wasn't good enough. I encouraged her to write 1 page a day. No more, no less. Don't worry about the book. I said, just write 1 page today. Emily did, and within a year she had a manuscript. That small action in the present led to a dream fulfilled. What's one small action you can take today? Maybe it's calling a friend, starting a journal, or taking a walk. Do it now. The present is your canvas. Real life examples, stories of transformation to bring these principles to life. Let's look at a few more stories of people who released the past and embraced the present. These are real examples from my workshops, books, and personal encounters, with names changed for privacy. Anna, from Trauma to Triumph. Anna was a participant in one of my PBS specials. She had survived childhood abuse, and for years she lived in fear, unable to trust others. Through therapy, meditation, and forgiveness work, Anna began to release the past. She started a support group for survivors, using her pain to help others heal. The past is still there, she told me, but it's not my prison anymore, it's my purpose. Anna's story shows that releasing the past doesn't mean forgetting it. It means using it to create a meaningful present. Mark, letting go of success. Not all past burdens are painful. Sometimes they're successes we cling to. Mark was a retired CEO who felt lost without his title. His identity was tied to his achievements, and retirement felt like a loss of self. Through mindfulness and reframing, Mark began to see himself not as a former CEO, but as a man with new possibilities. He took up gardening, something he'd never had time for, and found joy in the simple act of planting seeds. Mark's story reminds us that the present is a chance to redefine who we are. Rachel, healing through service. Rachel lost her son to a drug overdose, a tragedy that left her consumed by grief and guilt. She attended one of my retreats, where we explored the power of service. Rachel started volunteering at a rehab center, sharing her story to help others. When I'm helping someone, she said, I'm not stuck in my head. I'm here now. Service pulled Rachel into the present, transforming her pain into purpose. These stories illustrate a universal truth. No matter what your past holds, you have the power to release it and embrace the present. It's not about denying what happened. It's about choosing how it shapes you today. Spiritual and psychological foundations. The journey of releasing the past and embracing the present is rooted in both spiritual wisdom and psychological science. Let's explore a few key principles that underpin this work. Spiritual wisdom. The eternal now in spiritual traditions. The present is often called the eternal now. The Bhagavad Gita teaches that the soul is eternal, untouched by the past or future. Eckhart Tolle, a dear friend and fellow teacher, writes in The Power of Now that the present moment is all you ever have. When we align with this truth, we realize that the past is a thought, not a reality. It exists only in our minds. By anchoring in the now, we connect with the divine, the source, the infinite. I often share a quote from Lao Tzu: if you are depressed, you are living in the past. If you are anxious, you are living in the future. If you are at peace, you are living in the present. This isn't just poetry, it's a roadmap. The present is where God, love, and peace reside. Psychological insights, rewiring the mind from a psychological perspective. Releasing the past involves rewiring neural pathways. Our brains are wired to remember pain as a survival mechanism, but this can keep us stuck. Practices like mindfulness, cognitive reframing, and exposure therapy, gradually facing painful memories in a safe way, help rewire the brain for presence. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, in his book The Body Keeps the Score, explains that trauma lives in the body as well as the mind. Practices like yoga, breathwork, and somatic experiencing can release stored tension, allowing us to feel safe in the present. I've seen this in my own life. When I started practicing yoga in my 50s, I felt old wounds dissolve, not just emotionally but physically. A roadmap for daily practice to make this journey practical. Here's a daily roadmap to release the past and embrace the present. Think of it as a spiritual workout plan, inspired by my own practices and those I've shared with others. Morning. Start with intention. Begin your day with a moment of intention. Before you check your phone or rush into tasks, sit quietly for 5 minutes. Say to yourself today, I choose to be present. I release the past and open my heart to now. Set an intention to notice one moment of beauty today. A flower, a smile, a kind word, midday. Pause and breathe at least once during the day. Pause. Take 10 deep breaths, noticing each inhale and exhale. This resets your nervous system and brings you back to the present. If a past memory arises, acknowledge it without judgment and gently return to your breath. Evening, reflect with gratitude before bed. Write down 3 things you're grateful for from the day. Reflect on one action you took to live intentionally. If you're holding onto a past hurt, write a forgiveness statement. I forgive name or self for specific event. I release this and choose peace. Weekly, serve others once a week. Do something kind for someone else. A call, a note, a small act of service. Service pulls you out of your head and into the present, connecting you to the web of life. Challenges and how to overcome them. Releasing the past isn't always easy. Here are common challenges and how to navigate them. Challenge 1. Intrusive memories. If painful memories keep surfacing, don't fight them. Acknowledge them like clouds passing in the sky. Say, I see you, but you're not my truth now. Pair this with a grounding practice, like touching an object or naming 5 things you see. Challenge 2. Fear of letting go. If you're afraid to let go of the past, ask yourself, what am I protecting? Often, it's an identity or a sense of control. Journal about who you could be without this burden. Visualize a lighter, freer version of yourself. Challenge 3. Feeling overwhelmed. If the idea of releasing the past feels overwhelming, start small. Focus on one memory or one person to forgive. Break it into tiny steps. Write 1 sentence. Take 1 breath. Make 1 choice. Progress, not perfection. The promise of the present. As we near the end of this journey, let's reflect on the promise of the present. When you release the past, you create space for love, joy, and possibility. You become a co-creator with the universe, shaping a life aligned with your highest self. The present is where miracles happen, where a kind word changes a life, where a single choice sparks a new path, where a moment of gratitude heals a wounded heart. I'll leave you with a final story. In 2009, I was diagnosed with leukemia. It was a shock, a reminder of my mortality, but instead of dwelling on fear, I chose to embrace the present. I meditated, I loved my family, I wrote, I spoke, I lived, and in that living I found peace. The leukemia didn't define me, the present did. I'm still here, not because I denied the past or feared the future, but because I chose to live fully now. You have that choice too. Right now, in this moment, you can choose to release what no longer serves you. You can choose to forgive, to love, to act, to be. The past is a story. The present is your truth. Embrace it with all your heart. Closing, a call to action, my friends. The journey of releasing the past and embracing the present is not a one-time event. It's a daily practice. It's a commitment to show up for yourself, to choose love over fear, presence over regret. I invite you to take one step today. Maybe it's writing that forgiveness letter, starting a gratitude journal, or simply pausing to breathe. Whatever it is, do it now. The present is waiting. As I close, I offer you this affirmation, one I've used in my own life. I am free from the past. I am fully present. I am love. Say it with me. I am free from the past. I am fully present. I am love. Feel it. Believe it. Live it. Thank you for sharing this time with me. May you walk out of this room lighter, freer, and ready to embrace the gift of now.